Rudderstack is what we like to call a warehouse customer data platform. So there's a lot of tools out there that manage customer data, whether that's a marketing tool or a CRM. But companies that have a lot of data spread across their company really struggle to get a complete view of that customer. And so what Rudderstack does is it allows you to easily collect all of that data and unify it in your data warehouse or your data lake.
Welcome to Business Ninjas, brought to you by WriteForMe, where you'll hear from business leaders who are out there growing their business and slaying it every day. Learn from the masters. Let's get started.
Well, Eric, thanks for joining us today on Business Ninjas. We appreciate you stopping by. Thank you.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
Right on. Let's knock through all the basics first. So why don't you give us your full name, your role in the company, name of the company, and the website?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Eric Dodds. I'm the head of product marketing at Rudderstack. So that's rudder like a boat and stack like a stack of pancakes. And that's rudderstack.com as the website of the company.
Great. All right. And where's headquarters for you folks?
Headquarters is in San Francisco, California.
All right. Good deal. And maybe give us a little bit of a career arc that you've been through to bring you to the present opportunity.
Sure. So my background's actually, I'm one of those strange people who studied marketing in school and has done marketing type stuff ever since I graduated. So my parents are very glad about, the ROI of their investment in my education. But I've always had a very big emphasis on sort of the data and technical side of marketing. So spent some time in agency world and then ended up as an entrepreneur starting several companies, some of which failed, some of which became fairly large. And as a founder, I really focus on the marketing side. And so data was my big thing. So figuring out how to collect data and use it to help fuel growth, and really discovered that was sort of a significant technical problem. And so ended up figuring out a lot of ways to do that, which is eventually how I wound up finding Rudderstack. So used the product as a customer. And then, I found them when they were pretty early. And so they asked me to come join the team. So that's how I ended up at Rudderstack.
Wow, that's cool. Right on. And maybe let everybody know what the sort of the elevator pitch for Rudderstack is.
Yeah, absolutely. So Rudderstack is what we like to call a warehouse customer data platform. So there's a lot of tools out there that manage customer data, whether that's a marketing tool or a CRM. But companies that have a lot of data spread across their company really struggle to get a complete view of that customer. And so what Rudderstack does is it allows you to easily collect all of that data and unify it in your data warehouse or your data lake, and then activate it in the tools that need it, right? So the customer success tool, the marketing tool, the sales tool, the personalization, all of those really need a complete view of the customer. And so Rudderstack is the infrastructure that makes it really easy to do that on your own data warehouse or data lake.
Well, okay. All right. And are there certain verticals that you focus on?
We have customers across many, many verticals. We do a lot of work in the retail and e-com space. That tends to be a space where you have a very high volume of anonymous data. Understanding conversion and churn, repeat purchase rate, other things like that are really critical. And generally, a lot of that data is very siloed in SaaS tools. And so when companies run into challenges there, a lot of times they'll come to us to sort of manage all of the collection and sort of unification of that in their warehouse so they can actually see what's going on in their e-com funnel.
Wow. And so out of curiosity, when somebody comes to you and they have a pool of existing data, like how far back do you typically go to level set? Right. So they're coming to you, they have everything. Do you just look back a quarter or two, or how far back are you going in history to grab meaningful?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we're actually the collection mechanism. So you would install Rudderstack in your website or app,
Yep.
and start streaming all of that data into your data warehouse and also to your cloud tools. So you can sort of think about it as like pipelines that do that. So the data collection sort of starts from day one with Rudderstack.
I see.
But we provide really high fidelity data, and most of our customers combine that with other data that they have in their data warehouse. So that's transaction data from your payment system or something like that.
Right.
So you can think about Rudderstack as a set of pipelines that sort of help complete the picture.
Okay.
So yeah.
Gotcha. All right. And so it sounds like you came in fairly early with the company. So
Yep.
what's that journey been like? What was the original vision for the company, and then how has that kind of grown over time?
Absolutely. So our founder, Simideb Mitra is his name. He was actually he's a multi-time entrepreneur, but one of his companies that he built got acquired by a huge telecom corporation called 8x8. And he led a data science team at 8x8 who was trying to figure out how to ship really critical projects like predicting churn or producing a lead score that's that's actionable, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can imagine all of the different data sources that they had as a telecom company. I mean, marketing data, clickstream data, transcripts from calls. They had this huge amount of data, and they looked at all these vendors that sort of said that they could unify that or make use of it, customer data platforms really. And after trying several, he realized that he was just going to have to end up building something himself on their own data lake, which was a huge effort. And so he ended up spending, 6 to 12 months literally just sort of getting all the data into a place where they could start building the models to do a lead score.
Ouch.
Yeah. And it turns out that that's actually really, really common. And so he, like all great entrepreneurs, said, this is crazy. There's got to be a better way. So he built Rudderstack and said, we can do this on your own, data warehouse or data lake. And that's what Rudderstack is. I joined the company when it was probably about 10 people.
Wow.
And it was a little bit of a career detour for me. I joined as the first person in customer success. So I was actually implementing the product for our customers, which was great. I love the technical side of things and had done, many, many types of implementations, had implemented Rudderstack before I joined the company, which is really fun. So I built out that initial team, and then, the company really started to pick up steam. And of course, that marketing talent's hard to find. And so we interviewed a lot of people, and I ended up saying, I'll jump in and do the marketing. I know it. I have a background and all that. So have built a couple of teams. So built a demand generation team, and now I'm building out the product marketing function.
Wow. That's quite the arc. That's awesome. And so I'm wondering what the COVID experience was like for you and your customers. How did that change things for you, or did it?
It changed a lot. So COVID impacted so many different, aspects of our society and the marketplace in so many different ways, right? The impact was so unevenly distributed. One thing that it did in the world of data is that companies really quickly figured out that in the new environment that COVID created, it was absolutely mandatory to figure out how to use your data in order to understand new ways that people were buying, why people weren't buying the way that they were before. All of this new digital traffic that you're getting from all of these different channels, right? The amount of mobile traffic changed from web, right? So companies were seeing sort of these tectonic shifts in the way that customers were interacting with them. And so it really accelerated, I think, what a lot of companies knew they needed to do and wanted to do anyways. It forced them to figure those things out because the changes in scale were happening so rapidly, especially when you think about retail or marketplaces. We had several customers who sort of, they're doubling, tripling, in just a few months even. And so Rudderstack was a really good solution for them because we don't actually store any data, which is really interesting. We actually just collect it and distribute it both to your sort of, cloud tools and marketing tools or whatever, and to your data warehouse. And so it was a period of significant growth for us because a lot of our customers, it was a period of significant focus on data usage for them. And so, it was a really crazy time. Yeah. So we saw a lot of our customers solve some really, really interesting problems with a high rate of change and a sort of exponentially growing scale of data.
Okay. And I wonder, is that sort of the ideal customer for you, is somebody that's either kind of discovered the problem or they have so much growth that they're like, okay, we got to get a handle on this. Like what's the driver for people to reach out?
Absolutely. Really the driver for people to reach out, I would say, is if there's a data team or a data leader who is struggling to unify all of their customer data in their data warehouse and build that sort of golden customer record, because their infrastructure is fragmented, that's really a great fit for us. So, for example, we work with companies like Crate and Barrel, right? Huge multi-brand company, and they had their data siloed in all these different tools, right? And so we were a way for them to sort of unify that and then ultimately model it, understand it, and then get it back out to their systems and teams for activation.
Wow. Awesome. All right. And what's the, broadly speaking, what's the outreach strategy for the company to let folks know that you exist? Because you have such a core way for them to change their businesses.
Sure.
But I'm sure a lot of companies just don't even realize that there's a solution for this. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny, every company likes to think that, that everyone loves them, right? And in reality, most of the world hasn't heard of you. We've grown a lot and as a business. We really built the original business on just an inbound content strategy, as simple as that sounds. So huge investment in content, really focused on specific type of persona and a specific problem space. As we've grown, we've expanded the breadth of that. So adding additional problem spaces, and then I would say sort of broadening the aperture of the content, right? So that it's, maybe not speaking to things that are super specific, but higher level topics to drive more traffic.
Yeah.
That has built like a really, really strong and fast growing business. But we also now are getting the attention of a lot of enterprises. And so, especially from a product marketing standpoint, we're now adding onto our sort of go-to-market focus, speaking to those data leaders at an enterprise company, who are really responsible for driving bottom line results with technology and data. So there you're talking more about outcomes and value as opposed to sort of specific problem spaces that people are Googling for, if that makes sense.
Right. Yep. Totally. And what social media channels can folks find you on?
All the usual suspects. We're very active on LinkedIn. LinkedIn and Twitter are probably the best ones.
The two big ones. Right on. All right. Well, Eric, thanks for stopping by today. Obviously, we learned a ton, and it sounds like the company's off to a roaring start for 2023. So it's going to be fun to see where you end up. I'm sure you're just going to keep climbing. So we're looking forward to seeing what happens. Yeah, you bet. Thanks for coming.